Hello everyone, and welcome to my next video for Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera Omnia. And in this video I'm going to be taking on Dimensions End Entropy Tier 13, and for that I'm bringing along a team of Eald'narche, Fujin+Alphinaud with a Brother Summon. So it's that time of the month, the new Dimensions End is upon us, and with this we are in Tier 13, which is well over halfway there to be honest. We're definitely getting up in the tiers now, so I feel that I'm going to be able to bring a few more powerful characters and not feel like I'm wasting them, because from this point forwards we're just going to be getting strong characters after strong characters. I mean, we've got Saz coming up, we've got Raijin, we've got Charlotta who's going to get her EX+, we've got Kistis and Rydia, and then we're going to be going into the LD era. And the thing about Dimensions End is that they do get harder as it goes along, but LD weapons, and especially burst weapons, maybe not so much the first ones because Squall isn't that amazing, but some of the future ones are definitely balanced around taking on Lufenia era content, whereas the Dimensions End stays at Chaos level. So when we start getting into the really upper tiers, from what I've seen of Dimensions End 20, it is pretty cancerous. It's pretty goddamn difficult with all the conditions that you have to fulfill. But by that time, we'll have characters like a Mid-Italian, we'll have Lightning, LD, and Burst, and all sorts of shenanigans like that. I'm probably going to be using Gladio on one of these. In fact, I've been wondering what I'm going to be doing about Hope, because my original team that I was going to be bringing for this one included Hope. But I decided against that. I'm really tempted on one of these things to bring along a team of, like, say, Gladio, Hope, and Saz, for example, and then just let Gladio counter everything, because both Saz and Hope can extend his buff, But that's in the future. But basically, I've been kind of playing really conservative on these Dimensions Ends. I went back and I re-cleared 12, and I did it with a 0 out of 3 Rinoa. Instead, and that worked because Arciello and Pinello give so much brave regen that Rinoa was still doing good damage, and even at 0 out of 3, like, her actual brave hits are pretty goddamn strong. Like, she wasn't doing very many of them, but her HP plus attack and her EX was, definitely hitting hard enough to be able to keep pace with the stage, especially because I had good artifacts and I have good summon boards. So I'm going to say, if you have fully purple characters and you have character boards and stuff, then artifacts are probably not going to be as important. But definitely do the summon boards. If you're not doing summon boards and you're wondering why you're struggling on Dimensions End, then absolutely do them, because having the difference between having full boards and not having any boards is more than it's like 5 perfect artifacts worth of stats on top of actual artifacts. It's not insignificant. So yeah, I know it's a grind, I know it's monotonous, and newer players probably aren't going to be able to keep pace with it, but we've got the Ultimate Alexander event coming up in a couple of days, and with that, we should see Super Synergy for all of the boards return. So if you're behind on your boards, then just get grinding and get going. It's a good opportunity to catch up. So I'm actually going to go back to Tier 5 here. I did end up replacing Squall and Wall. My no Dispeller clear that I was so proud of, I've finally gotten rid of it, unfortunately. And I'm not doing that for Squall because I'm not really going to be pulling for his weapons, but I definitely wanted to free up Wall because I'm going to be using him in the future, right? Because he does get an LD weapon that gives him a HP attack shield, which is incredibly powerful, in my opinion. So I'm definitely going to be using him in the future. Plus, I was sitting on Aranea for the longest goddamn time, and just not actually using her for anything. So I was like, well, why don't I take her to Tier 5? Because it's kind of perfect for her, in my opinion, because every wave has at least 2 enemies, and a few of them have 3 enemies. So it's AoE central. And then I've brought along twins as well. I do actually have twins at 1 out of 3, and I mostly use them for farming, but they can actually be used in chaos content at that kind of limit break level. It's just too bad that they were kind of power crept by Aranea before twins even got their EX+. But they're definitely not bad, and they can imperil, so the damage type resistance on this stage for magic isn't too much of a problem, because their EX, when it's realized, gives them an imperil, and yeah, that pretty much just means you can damage everything normally. So for Tier 13, the enemies on this quest are pretty goddamn annoying. In fact, they range from annoying to frustrating to very dangerous and all manner of things in between if you don't do anything to control them. So here we have this dickhead, who you may remember from Maria's character event, that has this capacitance thing where it kind of surrounds itself with glowing orbs, electric orbs, and then it goes into discharge, which is a group AoE Brave attack, and then it has Supercell, aka fuck you, your party is dead. Except you won't die at this point because you've got so much HP, but it's still a very powerful AoE Brave HP attack that we can definitely do without having to deal with. Then we've got the Elvaret, who I think is the first Elvaret in Opera Omnia. Of course, I remember this guy from the radio tower in Dolit in Final Fantasy VIII in the opening sequences. That's where this thing comes from. And then later in the game in Estar, when after the Lunar Cry. But yeah, it's interesting design, to be honest. One thing I like about Opera Omnia is that they're starting to introduce more and more varied enemy designs, and they're all taken from the actual games. Like, I've seen the Medusas from I assume they're from Final Fantasy III. I'd never actually played it, but those things are terrifying, especially the Lufeni. But anyway, this guy has a buff that kind of acts as a stacking buff to itself. There's actually an aura debuff to your party, and I think it's like defense, max brave, and int brave, or something like that. But yeah, he's got an AoE brave HP attack as well, which is not. Yeah, it's got a gravity effect, and then its brave HP attack increases brave based on HP damage dealt. Yeah, so he kind of batters himself afterwards. You know, it's pretty annoying attack. Then we've got these turtles who have absolute turn rate shenanigans, and they can just magically take 2 turns out of nowhere, because when they decide to get high turn rate, they can just go instantly and then just suddenly decide to kill someone, or they just end up magically gaining like 60,000 bravery out of nowhere. They also have a self-cleanse when they get to 50% health, so I actually wasn't... I was going to see if I could get away without using Eald'narche here. I was going to use Jack. But because Jack is melee, this stage has a double melee resistance, and also basically every generic debuff under the sun also doesn't work. But I was thinking I could use Jack here. So I was using Jack, and I got one of the turtles to 50% health because Jack with Fujin hits extremely hard. But then it decided to cleanse the Imperil, and I was then staring down a turtle with 60,000 bravery who literally had the next turn. So I'm like, well, my only choices here are either to go into summon or die. But then if you blow the summon, you don't have it for the last wave, which has got 2 Mariliths on it, one of whom has a recast bar that you definitely don't want to leave alive. And yeah, you guessed it, group magic AoE brave HP attacks. This is like AoE brave HP attack central. You know, this entire tier is just designed to kill you. So I figure I would be able to complete it with someone like Jack if I did a few resets and if I played smartly, for example. But I decided, you know what, it's not worth the stress, it's not worth the pressure. Maybe I'll do it off camera, but for now I'm bringing Eald'narche, and we're going to be shutting them down and preventing them from doing anything at all, because he is perfect for this stage. You've got the Terror mechanic, which will completely shut down all of those all attacks, and then you've got his turn warp shenanigans, so even if this dickhead turtle decides to take 1,000,000 turns in a row, they won't be able to, because after every turn you also get a free turn if you play it properly. So we're just not going to worry about any of that nonsense. I've been extremely lazy with my artifacts. My Eald'narche still has the same arts that he had on his initial event. I've not farmed at all. I probably need to get on that pretty soon. I just can't be bothered. I'll be honest, I'm a bit sick of farming for perfects, but I'll get on it. I'll do it. I've also been playing a bit of grind blue fantasy in the off time as well, and that is it definitely lives up to its name. It's a pretty good game though, to be honest. To say how old it is, you know. But anyway, that's that. So I've got my Fujin here, who I decided to bring Fujin along because I was going to save her to run with Kais, but in the end, having a strong aura character like Alphinaud, for example, and having an imperil with Fujin will dramatically increase damage, a lot more than just having attack buffs. And we're getting to that stage in Dimensions End now where I've got Fujin, I've got Garnet still, I'm going to be getting Raijin in a couple of days. I'm going to have Rydia. When she gets her EX, I'm actually going to purple Rydia because I've got some surplus ingots, and I like her as a character, so she's another Imperil character. We'll have Desh coming up, you know, we'll have Kuja LD. We've got so many Imperilers, I might as well use one on every stage at this point. So that's the team I'm going to be running with. Without further ado, let's go. This is an extremely random comment, but I'm quite impressed by Japanese voice actors of young male characters. Like, they're all women, right? But I think Eald'narche's voice actor sounds pretty convincing. But that point aside, of course, I'm going to be going straight into my EX here with Eald'narche. We don't have to worry about the melee resistance after Fujin gets the imperil up. But one thing I do have to worry about, sadly, is this Elver, it's targeting Alphinaud. So he does have a double turn. I'm just going to brave attack. With Eald'narche, I am basically going to spam as many Uranus Cascades as I can until when this thing decides to start using its all attacks. Like, I think the first all attack is Discharge, which is just a brave attack. I think the second attack is Discharge as well, but I'm not going to risk it. I think by the time it gets to its second all attack, I'm going to go into phase shift and I'm going to start the lockdown procedure. But until then, I'm just going to spam as many skill 2s as I can. Because this is ultimately Dimension's End, and longevity is much more of a concern here than it is in regular Chaos quests. You know, you need to pace yourself, make sure you don't run out of skills. So that's the approach I'm going to be going with, especially because we've got we've got 3 waves and we've got so many free turns with Eald'narche. It's very tempting to just kind of burn him out, but I would strongly recommend against that. I'm going to go for another mess here. And of course I'm getting targeted again. You've got to love that target focus. It's going to be screwing up with my recast rate. Okay, thanks. Go to Fujin. That's fine. Okay, so here comes all attack number 1. So we've not really managed to get any free skills off here, and if I use an attack here, then Fujin will get broken behind B, and then that thing will attack, and then Eald'narche will get broken, B will have a lot of bravery. So basically I really need Alphinaud to not get broken here, so I'm gonna have to do this again. And of course, this thing gets a turn anyway, but because we've got Alphinaud, and we do have the exoplates on, so even if that would have been a HP attack, we wouldn't have taken that much damage from it. So they're both using all attacks here, so I think this is the perfect time to go into my phase shift. So that's a little bit ugly with the double turn rate, but I don't really care, because I'm going to get a free turn after every turn anyway. So yeah, we've got our warp up now. Let's start being a little bit more cautious with Fujin. Whenever she has excess bravery, we kind of maybe want to try using a few more HP attacks so she doesn't burn out. Because she doesn't have anything like free skill uses. Like Alphinaud here can just go forever as long as we can use skills in the right order. And yeah, it's going to be much more controlled, much more relaxing from this moment forwards. We're just going to spam a bunch of HP attacks. And of course, one of the great things about Terra is that not only does it prevent enemies from acting, but it's also a 20% HP damage increase for Eald'narche only. But because the Imperils and Alphinaud's auras increases damage so much, then he's just going to be able to spam HP attacks, and they're going to hit pretty goddamn hard by HP attack standards. And yeah, enemies are just on the ultimate lockdown. I don't need to use skills here whatsoever because my EX is already charged, so I'm pretty much just going to save it until if Terra wears off, then I'll use my EX basically. Otherwise, I'm just going to spam the enemies, and it's going to be very relaxing, and it's going to be completely no problem. And it's definitely not going to be anywhere near as much of a headache as it would be if you were using literally anyone else, except maybe Kai's, because he's so broken he just kills people way too quickly. At least we can get in some free skill uses with Alphinaud here to get that recharge bar up for his EX. Oh, my imperil's run out. I need to fix that. Yeah, it decreases everyone's max brave, but we've got so much max brave already that you don't really notice. Okay, so unfortunately, coming up, this is going to be A's last turn of Warp and Terror, so I don't think we're going to be able to get away without using the EX. I think we're going to have to use it. I don't trust that I can kill this thing in time, so I'm just going to use it. Oh, right, I had Fujin's EX, I completely forgot about that. Oh well. Never mind, it's all good. So yeah, that wave was completely shut down. No problem. One down, two to go. So these chuckle fucks, I'm really not a big fan of these guys. At all. See the turn spacing here? How frustrating that is, and how they can just randomly decide to do this kind of thing. Yeah, there's a reason I'm glad that we've got Eald'narche along. So I'm just going to pop a skill one here. It's a good opportunity. B is also attacking Alphinaud. That's fine. Let's just use a brave attack here. Oh, that was a chime. Was that Fujin's EX's backup? See if we can get some turn spacing to work with. Well, we can get A pushed back a little bit, so that's not too bad, I guess. I should have used her Crystal 65, never mind. I just realised just that second. No skill use for you, Mr. Alphinaud. I'm going to need you to not get broken. So I think getting broken by those dual bullet attacks, that's one of the things that's going to make them have high turn rate. Because I really want to break A here, but I'm going to wait. This might be a HP attack, but I want to get some chase damage off. Oh no, it's not a HP attack at all, is it? I'm gonna do it. None of these enemies are targeting Eald'narche, are they? I kind of want to sit on the EX a bit, just in case they do decide to. We still got... No, we don't even have warp up on them anymore. Whoops, never mind. That is my bad. Still being targeted? Really? Alright, yeah, B's gone to half health, so the next turn it gets, it's gonna like... it's gonna be a problem. I'm just gonna use Vortex now. Yeah, I was expecting this to happen with B. It's still targeting Alphinaud. Oh my god. Come on. Let's get that imperil back up. Come on! What is this thing's... What do they have against Alphinaud? At least that still hits like a truck. Get delayed. Not really been able to use Terra much this this wave. I'm going to leave the launch on B there, so that hopefully Fujin can get a wind slash proc off of one of these turtles, and we can get a proper full launch going on off of this free turn over here. That's the plan. Oh, so A's finally going to go for an all attack, which is going to get shut down. We've still got a turn of Terra left, haven't we? Yeah. There we go. Poor Alphinaud, man. Can't do anything. So B has warp on it now, but not Terra. Okay, there we go. We get out of this wave. Just using a skill there for the EX charge. Oh dear. Now for the Mariliths. So Marilith A over there is targeting Eald'narche. You know what? I'm just gonna pop it. We're going in, boys. Let's get that imperil up. I think that should be Fujin's EX as well, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't care too much if I don't care too much if Alphinaud gets broken here, because I'm actually planning on going into summon early. So you can't attack due to terror. We did not have free turns on you, that's fine. But if we pop this here Omega Javelin, we can go into summon on the free turn from B. Yeah, this is a free turn, right? I don't know if it is. It probably is. I missed it, but I'm not going to do it because we've all got turns afterwards. Let's see. So I'm going to save this EX from Fujin. Let's just do this. And that's an instant. The EX is an instant turn anyway, so yeah, this was a good call. Okay, so I should be able to HP plus here, and then we will get a free turn here. Excellent. And on the free turn now we can go and summon. So this will give me 7 turns of summon. And an extreme turn advantage. And that Stellar Burst just does a lot of damage in general while we're in the summon. Plus we have this. And what I'm actually going to do here is I'm going to use Sick on Alphinaud just to get some bravery left over. And then I'm going to target you over here. Of course I did the bravery attack in the summon so that I can get more splash damage here. I mean, I could use Vortex, but there would really be no point, so I'm just going to save it. I don't want to say it's over, but it's probably over. Now that's a good launch. Pretty much over. I'm just going to use the attacks. Might as well use up the remainder of the skills I've got left. So if this doesn't finish them off, then the next one almost certainly will. There we go. Operation Eald'narche is a success. They were completely locked out of the fight. Could not do a thing. There we go. And that is Dimensions End Tier 13 finished. No problem. So I think the next few Dimensions Ends are going to be a fair bit easier than what we've had recently, just simply because the characters that we've got are so much stronger. And I don't know why, like, I don't think everyone is sleeping on Eald'narche now that they've seen him in action and they know what he can do, because he can really just completely cheese a fight if you set it up properly, especially fights that like to spam AoE attacks. It's like Zac. If an enemy's using an all attack, then it just counts as targeting him as well, so they're just completely locked out. I'm going to go out and say that I think the reason that Eald'narche doesn't get used quite as much in Lufenia is not only just due to the Lufenia orb conditions, and you need to make sure you've got characters in your party that can take down the orb, but despite the fact that he does have Warp and Terror, he's still an attacker, right? He's a selfish character. He debuffs defense, but he doesn't have any party auras, he doesn't have any additional utility, he's just there to pretty much just be oppressive to the enemies. But of course, when you get to future characters, like a Mid-Italian for example, who can delete enemy turns, has massive battery, framed buffs everywhere, like tons of brave regen for the party, it's kind of like, well, why would he take someone like Eald'narche whose damage is starting to fall off when you can just take a Mid-Italian and make sure they just never even get a turn in the first place, you know? So there are arguments that he's not going to be as broken in Luffy just because his damage is still a major part of what makes him so good, and that does drop off. But that being said, I am probably going to try using him in the future, maybe alongside characters like Saz and Raijin to give him some major offensive steroids and just see how long he can last, because he's honestly really fun to play with in my opinion. So anyway, I hope everyone has enjoyed watching this. I hope you maybe got some sort of schadenfreude, some sadistic pleasure from watching me spank the shit out of those bosses, because I know I sure as hell did, after trying to do it without Eald. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching, and until the next time, take care, and goodbye.